Many years ago, your father, the King of Dal, was killed by the evil warlock Dalverna.
Ha ha, this away! Ha ha, that away! Ha ha, this away! Now you die!
With a spell that draws the life force out of the recipient. At the age of 21, you are now ready to become king. But before you are able to wear the golden crown, you must avenge the death of your father.
To give the warlock 40 whacks, first you must find the axe.
And rid your people of the wicked Dalvana for all time. Armed with just a dagger and a few weak spells, and wearing a suit of leather armor, you enter the Warlock's dungeon, and your great quest begins.
I am death incarnate. Dalvana, I'm coming for you.
Dungeons and Demons. The program is very long, occupying a large portion of the Spectrum's 48k of memory. In fact, it's about 30k, which is rather large indeed. It contains a great deal of data and graphical characters, which, as usual, should be entered with great care. There is a lot of use of user-defined graphics. They define them for standard things and also repeatedly redefine them for monsters and treasures. They also provide a very small user-defined graphic editor, which we'll look at afterwards. The instructions are: you're placed in room 1 and your quest is to move around the dungeon in search of weapons, treasure and artifacts to help you in your ultimate task, the killing of Dalverna. You must watch the information on the screen which changes. You move around the dungeon using the cursor keys 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a real-time game and combat is initialized automatically. Very few commands to consider. P to pick up an object, D to drop, S to cast a spell. You can only wear one suit of armor and carry one weapon at a time, so you must drop them. You have 5 spells. It pauses the game to let you choose. There's invisibility, which allows you to escape from monsters. Web, which causes a monster to be immobilized temporarily. In fact, it kills it. Cure, to increase your hit points. Lightning Bolt, which sends a lightning bolt at a monster, causing between 10 and 30 points of damage. And Fireball sends a fireball at the monster, causing between 10 and 40 points of damage. Your attributes are combat factor, defense factor, hit points, and total gold, which affects your score, and the various types of weapons you can pick up. The aim of the game is to get to the Warlock, who is in room 93. This is from Graphic Adventures for the Spectrum 48k, Richard G Hurley, from his students at Hurtspierpoint College. Once the game loads, we have to initialize all the arrays, set up all the user-defined graphics, and so on. We get a little display on the screen while we wait. Obviously, you have to initialize the rooms and the exits from the rooms, the size of the rooms, the basic graphics, and so on. It doesn't take that long, to be fair to it. It's inefficient as it does it repeatedly, doesn't need to once it's loaded, but here we are. So here we are, here's our little dungeon, and straight away we're in a room and we're being attacked by an Etin, which is a 2-headed type of giant, and it's hitting me. There is no sound in the game. It's just beating the crap out of me. I'm armed with a dagger and leather armour, and this thing is walloping me. And I'm dead. The rooms are generated randomly. So the contents of the rooms are generated randomly. So we're going to start again, have another go. So you don't know what's going to be in each room. Each time you enter a room, it decides what's in there. There are 4 special rooms. Room 93, where the Warlock is, and the 3 rooms where the treasures, so the special treasures are. Those are chosen randomly, but in certain ranges. Here we are. Screen loads. A little bit slow loading, and luckily we're in a room where there is already some chain armor. So we're going to pick that up. So we've now improved our defence factor up to 5. Enter another room. All rooms have white walls. The blue flashing squares are the doors. And his room's a dead end. Oh, there's a spell book, though, underneath me. Press P to pick it up. It contains a spell called Web. We now have 2 web. You can have up to 9 of each spell. And we entered the same room as before, but now there's a bat in here, a giant bat, and a weapon, and a pile of gold. We do damage up to maximum of our combat factor, so as we have a dagger, we can do a maximum of 2 points of damage. Monsters have different hit points, defense factors, and combat factors, but they all move at the same sort of speed. So as I drop my dagger, you press D for drop, then type dagger, and then you can go pick up a mace here, which has increased our combat factor up to 3. And pick up some gold, 56 gold, and gold gives you points, and points make prizes. Points are just for fun. Enter a new room. And this room is a 200 by 80 room, and it's empty. 3 exits, north, east, and south. Oh, here we are. Here's a Minotaur. Fortunately, I've caught it in time. I'm going to cast a lightning bolt at the Minotaur, which zaps him. There's no sound. Minotaur is mediumly tough. I have zapped him with lightning bolt. Hopefully, I should be able to kill him with a bit of luck. And I've killed the Minotaur, which is nice. And there is armour in the room. I don't know what sort it is, though. It's only leather armour. So I'm going to cast the Cure spell. And I healed up to 31 points in a big empty room. So if you keep entering the same room, you'll have different monsters and different treasures each time, which can need a bit of cheating. And here we have a Grell attacking us. We're going to cast a web at the Grell, some sort of tentacle beast, and that kills it. Do not walk into your own web, it will kill you. You do not get better with experience, you only get better by picking up better equipment. The layout of the room stays the same. It's based on a couple of arrays. There's an array of lengths, an array of widths, and an array of exits. The game says you can replace them if you want to. It gives you no editor for doing so, but it's certainly possible to just replace the data statements. And here's a goblin. And I'm not going to cast a spell on a goblin, because goblins are rubbish. And I should be able to bash its skull in quite easily. Indeed. That would be a waste to cast a spell on a goblin. There are much tougher monsters in the dungeon. Enter a new room. The contents are random, the layout of the rooms are not. So it is possible to make a map. And it is completely silent. There's nothing much in the rooms apart from monsters and treasures. Nothing else of interest. That's a bit of a shame. And here's a ghost. So I'm going to cast a fireball spell at this ghost, which wipes it out. Who are you going to call? Me. Whom the flashing exits. They didn't use any user-defined graphics for the doors. They just the graphics character graphics character 8 with the shift, so it's the solid block. Oh, and now here is a bat. So the bat hits me for up to certain points of damage, and you cannot escape from combat. There are no tactics in combat. You just stand there whacking each other. And I've killed the giant bat, and my strength is down to 18 hit points. So let's keep moving onwards. I've got 2 spells left, invisibility and web, and straight away I've got ambushed by a harpy, which always menaced Patrick Troughton in his bearded rolls, not letting me eat his dinner until Jason and the Argonaut sorted them out. But Jason's not here, there's just me and my mace. Fortunately, my mace is good enough to kill the harpy. There's only a dagger in the corner. Weapons are never anything more than they seem, so it's not like you pick up a dagger, it might be a magic dagger or a cursed dagger. There's just a dagger, which is rubbish. And here's a beholder, which is a bit more powerful. So I'm going to cast invisibility, which just makes me invisible, which is done with a nice inverse effect. And I want to pick up the longsword, which is a better weapon than my mace. So drop the mace, which is combat factor 3. Pick up the longsword, which is combat factor 6. And I can run off, because the beholder cannot see me, therefore I can just run around. If you move into him, you will fight him as normal though, so don't do that. One spell left, which is web. Now to keep moving onwards, we're going to get this Warlock. And he'll a room with a potion. That'd be nice. When you pick up a potion, it's a potion of invisibility, which gives us 2 invisibility spells. This will be handy. I could really do with some cure though. Enter a new room. Oh, and here's a ghost. Ghost. It's not very friendly, and the ghost has killed me. Oh dear. Delvana triumphs again. 63 points.
For to make the Warlock yield, seek ye out the magic shield.
So Dungeons and Demons make a great deal of use of user-defined graphics, and the book wants to teach you how these things work. So they provide a simple little utility to help you input them into the computer. It's not great at designing them. It says what you need to do is get a bit of squared paper and draw your characters on it in an 8x8 grid, and then for each line you convert each square into a 0 or a 1, which are binary numbers. You can enter these into the spectrum by poking into memory directly. This does it for you and gives you some basic error checking. So you have to enter 8 digits. If you enter more or less than 8, it'll make you do it again. And you can see what you've entered on the screen. User-defined graphics are easily accessible by using the function USR and then the type of graphic. Each graphic requires 8 bytes. And you can specify these bytes as binary numbers or as decimal. Essentially, you type these numbers in, and this graphic is provided by the book, but it's not used by the game. So I thought, well, why don't we see what it looks like? There is very limited error checking in here, as in as long as you enter 8 characters, it's happy with it. So obviously that is not binary. And let's see what we actually get. Once you've entered the character, it displays it in a nice blown up form. It looks a bit like a Diglett from Pokemon. Let's do it again now, but properly, because I actually want to use this graphic in the deluxe version. So there's 21 user-defined graphics available in 48K mode, only 19 available in 128K mode, which is why if you play Oh Mummy on the Spectrum Plus 2 using Tape Loader, you'll get the word Spectrum appearing in the middle of the screen, because that's one of the 2 user-defined graphics that are now becoming keywords for 128K basic. So this is not great at designing, because what you want to do ideally is actually just draw your character on the screen and then get the numbers out, not get the numbers and then see what it looks like. The advantage of binary is if you squint a bit, you can see what it looks like. So here we're now getting our doorway with a door in the middle of it, and that looks quite nice. What we now want to do is save to tape. You can save UDGs to tape for later use by either one at a time or all of them by starting at USR A for the length of 168. And this is what we do.
A prince will wear a royal frown if he wears not the archmage crown.
One of the things I always like to do with type-in games that I adjust, improve, snorkify, whatever you like, is to give them a loading screen. Usually because I make them longer, they have to have longer to wait to play them. And also it's a way of just saying thank you for the original author. So Dungeons and Demons is clearly inspired by the role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. So wanted something giving that sort of theme, so why not the word Dungeons and Dragons? So what I've used is 2 fonts from Roberto Colombo's Charbank, and basically blown them up on the screen. So this technique is you print them at the bottom of the screen, black ink, black paper, and then do a little routine using the point function for each of the areas, and then basically just for each character make it for each pixel, maybe make it 3 high and 2 wide, that sort of thing. So it's all done in a subroutine. Note that Demons is a different font to Dungeons, and is a separate font again. The first font does not have the ampersand symbol, and the third font does have an ampersand symbol, but it's just not very attractive. So in the end, I just wrote the word "and." The two white things between Dungeons and Demons are meant to represent some kind of dungeon corridor, and the 7 figures at the bottom are obviously the demons in different colours. And the bottom of the screen, you can write to the bottom 2 lines of the screen by using print #0. The issue there is that when you come to save the screen, that's then overwritten with the save command. So what you have to do to that is copy the data to another part of memory and then save the code from there. So say code 40,000 for a length of 6912. The game takes longer to load. I've actually made it shorter, but I've rearranged things. Obviously, we have the loading screen, and we have the Jonathan Cauldwell poke to stop the loading screen being ruined. We also have a font for some loading. The top font number 31 from Roberto Colombo. I've also decided, rather than redefine the UDGs all the time, which is what the original version did, I just saved them all to tape. You can just save the entire UDG to tape and then just load them again, which saves a fair amount of memory, but then adds the loading time. I've done the same thing with the arrays for the rooms. The rooms are made up of 3 arrays, 2 one-dimensional arrays for the width and the length, and a 4-dimensional array for the exits. These are just saved directly into memory. In the code, these were originally 100 long. We only have 93 rooms, and you can't use room 99 anyway, because 99 is a special flag. So I shifted these into memory, and we load these as well. I have saved memories. The program is about 5,000 shorter, because data in the code is a lot longer than you think. Single numbers are about 7 bytes long, which are very wasteful. I was going to use the extra memory for some kind of machine code, but I couldn't find something nice. I wanted a sound effect for fighting, couldn't find something useful. I was experimenting with sampled speech for maybe the evil wizard. Again, nothing was really worth the candle. So I left it as it is. So there is no machine code apart from basically the loading the font. No machine code at all in this game. It's all still in BASIC. So I'm loading the game. The screen goes black. We get initializing dungeon. Please wait. Because you might have to wait a little bit longer this time, I've made the border change colour as you progress through the design of the dungeon, and sending beeps so you get a sense of excitement to get closer and closer to the end. It takes 4 minutes 50 to load, and then an additional 25 seconds before you're ready to play. So we start off, got a nice new font. One of the changes I made is that you never start in the room with a monster. We found a treasure though, a ring of invisibility, and note the colour of the walls. They are now blue. In fact, the colours of the walls will change based on the number of the room. So as you progress through the dungeon, the colours of the walls will change. You get a sense of progression. When you move between rooms, there is now permanence in what was in there. So previously you could move back and forth between rooms, and each time you entered a room, there could be a monster, there could be gold, could be different treasures. Here, there's only one monster in the room, and it stays there unless you kill it. There's only one treasure in the room. If you leave the room without picking it up, it's gone forever. The gold will stay there until you pick it up. And here's our first monster. It's a goblin. Goblins are rubbish, so we could cast a spell, but we're not going to. In the room is also a mace, so let's try and get the mace. Look at the doors. These are the doors from the UDG program. There is now, of course, sound. In the fighting, there are little beeps for the monster and beeps for you based on how much damage you do. Gives a bit of excitement. So now we're dropping something. Rather than typing the word dagger, you can only drop an armour or a weapon. So in fact, just say, look, just drop W for weapon or A for armour. When you move, there's a little ticking, as you can hear there. That's done with BASIC. If you write to the out channel 254, you can turn on or off the speaker. All I'm doing there is turning the speaker on and off based on what step I'm doing. You get a little clicking effect. So these are a few little changes I've made. I've also reordered the monsters. There are 23 monsters, and they were in pretty much random order. I've put them into order based on a formula I made up consisting of their hit points, their combat factor, and their defense. Obviously, more weight to the combat factor and defense than hit points, and giving a sort of a ranking based on how difficult they are. The idea being that you wouldn't start off in a room with a demon at the start. That's not very fair. Here I've got a bit lost because I was wondering about the way I came. You can see here the rooms aren't repopulated with monsters and treasures, whereas at the start you can just go back and forth until you find good weapons. Running away is always an option, but you have to be close to a door. I've currently got 32 gold. So here we're now progressing forwards. Got leather armour. I've got a mace though, so I've improved my ability. And here is immediately a shambling mound, which have quite a lot of hit points, but aren't that powerful. But they can run you down because they are just big chunky lads. Not as big and chunky as the black puddings. So here my health is running down. I'm hitting it, it's hitting me, and I've killed it. Whenever you kill a monster in the original, you got 1 point added to monster. Here I'm casting a spell. S to cast a spell. Previously you had to type the word cure, cast a cure spell. Now you just have to put the first letter in, which I've highlighted in different colours on the right, which makes it a lot easier. When you kill a monster, you get a point added to MO. The more fearsome monsters get more points added. And after a certain point, you get bonuses to your maximum hit points, bonuses to the amount of damage you do, your spells do, lightning bolt and fireball, and a change to how much heal does. So here we get in a red room now, so things are getting a bit more serious. So I'm going to cast a spell of invisibility. This is in the original, by the way. And with this, the monster doesn't see you and cannot move. So I'll get to run around the room, ignore the monster, as long as I don't move into it. The invisibility spell only lasts while you're in the room. Once you leave the room, it is gone. It doesn't last any longer than that. And it doesn't work on all monsters. Here's a Minotaur. Here I'm going to cast another spell. I'm going to cast Fireball. Zap. So Minotaurs, or Minotaurs, have 25 hit points, but do a fair amount of damage when they hit. This part I've just killed him stone dead. Marvellous. A nice red room. Red rooms are known for being murderous in The Shining. The maze is fixed. The contents of the rooms are not fixed. There is an end of game boss, the Warlock Dalvana, and 3 special monsters as well. But the maze itself is fixed. The locations of Dalvana is fixed. The 3 special monsters vary their location, but they're fixed once you start the game. So moving through these rooms, nothing in the rooms apart from monsters, gold, and equipment. You get points for gold, points for killing monsters. The more important monsters, the better, and points for killing Dalvana. Nice big room, and here is a Beholder, which is a monster from Dungeons and Dragons. It is a big floating eye thing with extra eye stalks. Here, it doesn't have any projectile weapons, but in Dungeons and Dragons itself, it shoots things out of the eyes. Each eye has a different power. So, there's a room here with a short sword. A short sword is better than the mace. So I drop the weapon, drop the mace. You can type mace if you really want to, but why would you? Pick up a short sword instead, which now gives us a combat factor of 4. We can now do up to 4 points of damage on a successful hit. So dagger there. So therefore picking up a dagger, you can do. I won't stop you, it's just rubbish. And there's no advantage to fighting with a dagger. Here's a room with 4 exits. Nice big chunky rooms. So I changed how the print routine works as well. It was printing each character of the walls one at a time, which is inefficient. So what I'm now doing is printing the top and the bottom in one go. Here's a little program I wrote to show you printing. This is printing one character at a time, but filling the entire screen. So each character is one individual print statement. These are all dollars, which took a noticeable amount of time. That's what the game does for the walls. Now we're printing one line at a time, We have to create the line first, so it's a small delay, but then writing each line is then a lot quicker. It's even quicker on subsequent goes because you don't need to fill out the array first. So I have an array of 32 characters. There, instantly it's a lot quicker. So here I'm creating an array for the entire screen in an inefficient manner, I should say. But essentially I'm creating a 32 by 22 number of characters, changing the border a different color just to show things are passing. And once it's complete, I will then fill the screen with a symbol. This is the graphic symbol, not the last 2 lines because they're part of the input area. That was a bit slow, but if we do it again, it's a lot quicker. See, I wasn't lying. Here I'm being attacked by a roper. Ropers are surprisingly tough. I'm not quite sure what they are. They probably have lots of tentacles, which aren't good. We're now in a magenta room, by the way. Things got more serious. So now let's keep going. And what do we find? The devil himself! Devils are special monsters. They are 2 by 2 and it's guarding a crown. I'm casting lightning bolt to can't kill this devil. And here's a fireball. And now we get to fight. There are 3 devils in the dungeon, and I've killed the devil. So let's go and pick up the treasure it's guarding. I did that effect myself. I found the crown of the Archmage Yaga, who resisted the will of Dalverna. With the crown, you'll be able to withstand the will of Dalverna. This is one of the 3 treasures you require to win, which is nice. And when you kill the devil, that counts as 10 experience points. So that's 10 points and pushes you a bit further forward onto getting extra thing here. There's a short sword there because there was treasure already in the room. This was, I believe, version 1.32 of the game. As I progressed, making it slightly better each time, I added a version and fixed bugs as we went along. And here's this roper again. I'm going to cast a web, which casts it in a spider's web. The book says temporarily mobilises. In fact, it kills it stone dead. Huzzah! Let's now keep moving forward. We're now out of spells. I could do with some healing. We're not doing too bad though, and maybe some better armour. And here is a holder. The ink colour of each monster is randomly generated each time you enter the room. So the boulder's hitting me. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anna added this death animation as well. Just click the character over and over again in different ways. But it's got 51 points though. If you press try again, yes, or then go regenerate all the monster for you. Or the dungeon for you. But that's my improvements. And here, just to show you I'm not robbing you, is what happens when you get to the final boss, the evil Warlock Dalvarna. Here he is. At last, you have found the evil Warlock Dalvarna. He greets you with an evil smile and says, "Congratulations on your arrival, but alas, it was all in vain." At that moment, a fireball appears and hurtles towards you. Oh no, he can cast spells too, the swine. As you are not protected by the shield of Kelwyn, you have been burnt alive. Evil triumphs once more.